Blade Runner 2049 had every reason to fail just like most sequels. And then it went and did the exact opposite of what a sequel is supposed to do. But wait, what is a sequel even supposed to do? Well, let's look at 3 movies from 3 different genres to see how the sequel completely messed it up so that we can name what the pattern is. The original Pacific Rim had these heavy, gorgeous giant robots. We've pulled it apart too much on this channel already, but Warner Bros. Still gets my pound of flesh. Then Uprising showed up. Put the Jaegers in flying kicks and slick little sports car bodies, and turned all that beautiful weight into a Saturday morning cartoon. Megamind was this animated film you've hopefully seen before. Will Ferrell voicing a supervillain who actually beats the hero, and then hasn't got a clue about what to do with himself after. Then, 14 years later, they brought it back without Will Ferrell, dropped the animation to cheap kids' TV level, and turned the whole thing into a backdoor pilot for a Saturday morning cartoon aimed at 6-year-olds. Paul Blart was a little underdog comedy, a lonely mall cop on a Segway. Sweet and harmless. And yet somehow it made an absolute fortune. I don't know, people just had a soft spot for him. So, of course, they had to make a second one. They shipped him off to a casino in Las Vegas, cranked everything bigger and louder, and ran the same pratfalls back with none of the warmth that made the first one work. The original critics' verdict, which I'm not making up for once, unlike the rest of the script, was criminally unfunny. So, what is this pattern? Doesn't matter the genre, every one of these reached in, found the exact thing that made the original work, and then ruined it. Pacific Rim lost the weight, Megamind lost Will Ferrell and every decent joke, and Paul Blart lost whatever heart it had to begin with. You grab the thing people love, and you usually just end up breaking it in your hands. And the worst part of it is what it does to the original. You go to watch the first Pacific Rim now, and Uprising's just sort of sitting there in the corner of your eye. You want to deny the sequel even exists, because the thing you loved just gets a little bit harder to love. And you're almost certain you'll never get that again because of the massive loss of the movie studio. But not always. Some sequels come out better than the film that made them. And everyone sort of already knows the trick. You build on the hero. It's the safest bet going because the audience sits down already loving that person. Look at Aliens. It took Ripley, the one person who crawled out of that first film alive, gave you more of her, harder and angrier. And by the end, she's strapped to a power loader, roaring at a queen twice her size to get away from her kid. Terminator 2 dragged Sarah Connor back and turned that quiet waitress into someone who unsettles you. Then took the machine that hunted her in the first one and made it the only thing standing between her son and the world. So many sequels people truly love run that same play. It finds the character you already ache for and hands you more of them, but deeper. So hang on to that idea. Build on your hero. Because Blade Runner 2049 looked at that rule and did the complete opposite. The hero, Rick Deckard, they benched him and handed the entire film to a man you have never even met. His name is K, Officer KD6-3.7, if you're being precise like us nerds, but everyone else just calls him K. Oh, and the most exciting part? He's a replicant. For context, that was the exact thing Deckard spent the first movie hunting down and killing. The film opens on him doing the job. Kay drives out to a lonely protein farm, knocks on the door of a big old replicant named Sapper Morton, and after a slow, grinding fight in a dingy kitchen, he, retires him. So yeah, a machine sent out to hunt down and put down his own kind is our new hero. If we can even call him a hero? I mean, can we? I will. You gotta feel a bit for him though, as nobody even thanks him for his job. His own colleagues at the LAPD can't stand him. There's a slur for what he is, and someone scrawls it across his bedroom or the front door. I forget which one. The one scrap of warmth in his whole life is a girlfriend he bought off a shelf. A hologram called Joy that flicks on when he walks in. So yeah, that's who they replaced Deckard with. And Deckard, the reason half the audience bought a ticket in the first place? You're about 2/3 of the way through the film before he even shows up. And remember, this is a $150 million studio with Harrison Ford's name on the poster. Somebody had to stand in a room full of executives and pitch hiding Harrison Ford for exactly 105 minutes. And they got it made. Every single thing the safe road tells you to do, they looked at and went, nah. Don't start cold with a stranger? Well, they started ice cold with a synthetic one the film itself treats as garbage. Don't ask the audience to fall for someone new when there's a face they already love sitting right there. They sat that face on the bench and bet everything on you giving a damn about Kay instead. And, well, you do. By the time Deckard finally steps out of the shadows, you're already committed to Kay. Then the movie stepped it up another notch if we look at the questions the first movie still had left unanswered. And, did they answer those questions? Well, for 35 years, Blade Runner fans have argued about one thing above everything else. Is Deckard himself a replicant? The Blade Runner, who hunts replicants for a living, is he secretly one of the things he's killing? The first film drops little hints. There's a dream he has about a unicorn, and later a tiny origami unicorn is left on his floor by another character. Like somebody knew exactly what he'd been dreaming. People have written Reddit posts about that one piece of paper. Ridley Scott, who directed it, says, yes, Deckard's a replicant. Harrison Ford, the man who played him, says no. Or, well, until 2023. Did he change his mind? Or did he always secretly agree Deckard was a replicant? Either way, this is the Blade Runner question. What did you think before the sequel? I'll give you some time to answer that in the comments. The sequel had the perfect chance to finally end the argument. The film walks right up to it, in fact. It gets Deckard in a room with Wallace, the blind man who builds replicants now, and Wallace leans in and starts twisting the knife. Whispers that maybe Deckard was designed, that maybe he was built to walk in and fall for Rachel on cue, engineered from the start. So the great doomed romance at the heart of the first film was just a product test. Still, maybe... Oh, come on, just answer it. Nope. 2049 refuses. Deckard just growls that he knows what's real, and the film leaves it exactly where it found it. Villeneuve said he did that deliberately, and for good reason. That mystery is half of why the original still gets under your skin decades later. Settle it now in either direction, and you've reached back and flattened the first film just to hand people a gasp or two. That's the exact move that killed everything we talked about before. Reach back and rewrite the first movie. So that's rule 2, gone. It wouldn't lean on the old hero, and it wouldn't answer the old question. And by turning its back on both, it cleared the space to do the thing that actually makes it great. It started asking new questions. The first Blade Runner was really about one idea under all that neon. What actually makes someone a person? The whole film pushes you toward its replicants, these manufactured people stuck with 4-year lifespans. And by the end, the villain, Roy Batty, a replicant, feels more human than any real human in the movie. He saves the man sent to kill him, and then dies in the rain talking about everything he's seen.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
That was the original's soul. Can a made thing be a real one? A lazy sequel would just run that back. Give us another Roy, another rain-soaked speech about being people, collect the tears, and cash in the nostalgia. 2049 does something more interesting with that. It goes at memory. Every replicant in this world gets built with a childhood they never actually had. Fake memories loaded in to give them a past, so they've got something to hold on to. Kay knows his are fake. Kind of. We'll talk about that in a bit. First, it loops back to his hologram girlfriend, whose whole job is to be whatever you need her to be. She loves him, she says, but being loved is literally the thing she was sold to do. Later on, Kay walks past a giant advert for her, 100 feet tall, and it calls him by the pet name his Joy used.
You look like a good Joe.
You have to feel for the man, because maybe every tender thing she ever said to him was just the product doing its job. So the film isn't asking, are replicants human all over again? It's asking something way worse. If your memories were written by someone else, and the only love in your life is a thing you paid for, is any of it real? And does that even matter if it feels real to you? Same question the first film asked, in a way, just packaged differently with new emotional weight to it. And every bit of it is about to land on Kay because of that memory thing from earlier. He's slowly starting to realize something about it. He carries one memory from when he was small. He's being chased by a gang of bigger kids through some factory-like setting, clutching a little carved wooden horse, the one toy that's his. To make sure the other kids don't take it, he grabbed a piece of cloth and hid it in an old furnace. He's always assumed that memory is a fake, because when he went back there in the present, the toy wasn't there. But it starts lining up with his case. The impossible child, the one born from a replicant, was hidden away at around the same time. A date carved into a dead tree matches a date carved into that wooden horse. And slowly, Kay starts to think the unthinkable, that the memory is real, that it happened to him, that he was never manufactured at all. He's the child, the miracle everyone's been hunting. He takes the memory to Dr. Anna Stelline, a woman who designs memories for a living and builds the fake childhoods they load into replicants. He plays her the horse, and she starts to cry and tells him it's real. Somebody actually lived this. To Kay, that's the whole world cracking open. For the first time, a replicant has a real past. He had a mother. He came from somewhere real. And then they take it away from him. The memory is real, every second of it, but it was never his. It was hers. It got copied into Kay's head like any other implant. The actual miracle child was sitting right across from him, Dr. Anna Stelline. Neither of them knew. So he's nobody again. Worse than nobody, because just for a little he got to be the one. And now he's another replicant walking around with a stranger's memories in his skull. This is the moment the whole film's been walking toward. Nothing forces his hand now. He could disappear. He's not the child, so it's not his fault, and nobody could blame him for walking away. Instead, he goes and finds Deckard, the real father, and drags him out of the hands of the people who want to cut the secret out of him. He takes that broken old man to the one place he's never been, a building in the snow where the daughter he's never met is waiting. Kay's already been stabbed by then. As Deckard climbs the steps to meet Anna, Kay lies down on those steps in the falling snow and bleeds out, alone, looking up while the snow settles on him. It's a beautiful callback to the first film, which ended the same way. A replicant, Roy Batty, dying in the rain, and in the act of dying, becoming the most human thing in the whole movie. 2049 gives you Kay, a replicant who's just found out he's nobody special, dying in the snow, doing the most human thing there is, giving everything he has for someone else, and asking for nothing back. And again, in contrast to sequels where the hero is supposed to turn out special, Kay turns out to be ordinary, and he decides to matter anyway. A death in the snow like that only lands as hard as the world it happens in, and the world they built might be the most impressive part of the whole thing. The first film was one city, rainy Los Angeles, neon signs, smoke, that noodle bar I keep coming back to. Gorgeous, but small. 2049 blows the whole thing wide open. You get the drowned coastline held back by giant seawalls, endless gray solar farms running to the horizon, a dead, orange Los Angeles, buried in dust and empty as a tomb, and snow at the very end. It's so much bigger than the original, and normally scaling a world up this much is exactly where it goes wrong. We talked about that before. The city's massive, and you feel all of it through one lonely guy walking across it. Exactly the first way you felt the first film's entire world through one tired guy eating noodles on a stool. So, the world got 10 times bigger, and never once did it go weightless. And they were confident enough to do the last thing a bad sequel would ever try. They slowed it right down. The oldest complaint about the first Blade Runner is that it's slow. Some people worship that. Plenty of others bounced right off of it though, called it boring and fell asleep. So the obvious fix for that would be to pick up the pace, tighten it up in the sequel, keep everyone awake. 2049 though runs nearly 3 hours, even slower than the original. Long-held shots, full minutes of a man just walking through fog, scenes that sit in silence and refuse to be hurried. Slow and boring aren't the same thing. Boring is when nothing's happening. Slow is when something is happening, and the film trusts you to sit still and feel it. All that quiet in 2049 is doing work. It's the loneliness of Kay's life. It's the emptiness of the world and the size of it. Speed that up, cut it faster, and that mood falls apart. And, well, did it fall apart? I mean, it didn't pay off at the box office right away. I loved it though. Did you love it? You can answer that while we add it all up. It benched its beloved hero for 2/3 of the film. It wouldn't answer the question fans had waited 35 years for. It built everything on a total stranger, then turned around and told that stranger he was nobody and let him die in the snow for it. On top of all that, it got slower and longer and asked the audience to work harder, not less. Every one of those is a fireable offense in a sequel. And they all come from the same nerve. Every other sequel treats the original like a treasure vault. Bust it open, grab whatever's shiny. The hero, the iconography, the old questions, and sell it all back to you. Never mind, the thing's been hollowed out by the time they're done. Ugh. And if you want to see what it looks like when they get that completely wrong, well, click right here to see what Uprising did to Pacific Rim.